Really interesting dish of wild greens today from Cameroon. It says Njama Njama or Njama Njama and Fufu with Khati Khati chicken or maybe turkey. Any way you cut it, this is a really cool traditional recipe for black nightshade greens. And I have been eating this all week in a bunch of different versions. So here's some of the key ingredients to know about. First, we're cooking black nightshade greens. So there is, let's see, Solanum scabrum should be the one that they're cooking over there, and there should be a couple different varieties or cultivars of the Solanum scabrum named for different places in Cameroon, like at least three. Then there's Solanum melanocerasum that I'm growing, that you see the seeds there, and then there's also just Solanum nigrum, which are your basic common black nightshade. The other thing is palm oil. This is not the same oil that's an additive to a lot of food. It's very different. It's unfiltered, it's got a great color, and don't make the recipe without it. The other thing is Khati Khati chicken, or sometimes I see turkey, and that is a side dish, or the meat could be added to the dish, and it's very traditional to serve all these things together, and the fufu. So this is kind of like a firm polenta made from cassava or plantain or a number of different starchy vegetables. You can buy the flour. I'm using the flour here, and this actually didn't turn out as good for me as making it fresh out of plantain, a fresh plantain and a cassava root. So you mix the water and the fufu flour cold to hopefully prevent lumps. I somewhat succeeded here in not getting it too lumpy in a few of my tries. One of my tries was bad and went straight in the garbage. So you're going to whisk that just like polenta until it gets too firm to whisk. And then we're going to take a spatula and beat it. And we really have to, the recipes will say knead, and that's exactly what you're going to be doing here. You're kneading this dough to, remove lumps and also cook it. And the starch is going to activate and it's going to get firm. And then after it chills, it's going to set. And what you do is you form it into these little balls, or you could have kind of a flat ball like my fresh one. So my fresh one made from fresh plantain and fresh cassava there, you can see how firm this is, because what the fufu is, it is a vehicle for eating the Njama Njama greens. So this is like, think of it like a really thick, it's not a tortilla chip or something like that, but this is a vehicle for eating the greens. Now I also see it served kind of fresh, more like fresh polenta, but then most recipes probably agree that my fufu there was too soft. That was made with the flour, and that, is kind of subpar, and I'm probably not going to serve that. So to make the greens here, now some of you have probably watched my video on Sopa de Mora, so I have been buying all the black nightshade greens from my local Asian market, and just like before, this is another batch that I grabbed. They're selling these greens at the stage where the plant is making flowers, and I was kind of talking in my other video about these that I don't really love that, but I'm happy that they sell the greens at all. But I also was watching videos on people preparing the Njama Njama, and they talk about removing the flowers too, so who knows? Maybe people like picking them at that stage for some reason. Those are the nightshade greens in my garden. They're perforated by bugs, and if you have black nightshade greens growing around your place, they probably look the same. Another bonus of being able to buy them. So a lot of people will blanch the greens and freeze them, and this is a great way to preserve them. If you get a whole glut of them, it will also calm the bitter flavor a little bit, because these greens are bitter, but they're not bitter like a dandelion. It's a really good bitter. It's mild, and man, I just love these greens. So we'll take the greens, shock them a little cold water to stop the cooking, and then we'll just squeeze the water out, and you can just freeze them just like that. And for the recipe here, I'm actually going to use the fresh greens, because I crave that strong, bitter flavor, and it goes good with habaneros and onions and the strong flavor of palm oil and smoked turkey broth and all kinds of good things here. So we're going to take an onion, we're going to cut it perpendicular to the equator, cut it in half, then we'll cut it into about 1 inch 1 inch slices. See, with this other onion, here's a good trick. See that second skin? I skinned the onion, but that skin, I can just feel with my fingers, that's dental floss. So I always take that out, and I'm mindful of the inner layers of an onion, if they are going to be tender or not. Okay, so we're going to start off the Njama Njama greens. We have the palm oil. This is what it should look like. If your palm oil is clear, that is not the kind of palm oil that you want to be using. It should be this bright, brilliant orange color. It should be solid, And I added a little garlic. That's not traditional. I got to mention that. I also see anything from shallots, onions, and leeks used here. But the key is we're cooking these in a healthy amount. This is about a quarter cup of palm oil for 8 ounces of greens. That's a lot. And that is what you should be doing. It's a lot of oil. And it's going to be firm too when it cools, just like coconut oil. Now, they could be chopped tomatoes, they could be chopped fresh tomatoes, peeled tomatoes, but whatever you do, you got to cook the mixture down until the oil begins to separate. Almost every recipe, they are really adamant about that I see, that I've read and watched. Now we're going to add the greens. You can see these ones are fresh, so because they're kind of dry, I'm going to add a little bit of my smoked turkey wing stock, get a little chicken stock. Most recipes, and I have to mention this, are going to use powdered maji bouillon cubes. That is optional. I'm not going to add that here. But you can see I got the habanero chilies. There's 2 whole ones in here, and it's not even spicy. If you cut the habaneros up, they will definitely be spicy. So we're just cooking the greens down until they're tender and taste good to us. If the pan gets dry, I'll add a little bit more chicken stock or my smoked turkey broth there. And it could be a little wet, a little juicy. Think of this as basically like African smothered greens. Very similar to a lot of southern recipes. And you can see here I have my fufu, and this is something you do not use silverware. Your hands should be covered in palm oil. You will need napkins. This is not a knife and fork dish. This is eaten with your hands and the fufu as a vehicle. And you can see I've added the smoked turkey that I used to the greens. You can do that too. But it's just a super cool, novel way and a traditional way to prepare black nightshade greens that I just find so interesting and really delicious. The full recipe is on my website. There's a link at the top of the video description for that. Thanks for watching.